Welcome into Snow The Goalie. We are here at the Chickies and Pete's at the Parx Casino in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. We have done a sound check. It's going to sound great in the building. I have no idea what it's going to sound like over the stream. Apparently we have, Anthony, it's your company. I've heard that we're getting new sound equipment in the new year. Is that correct?
That is the plan.
Can you assure the people at home?
I can never assure anybody anything, but that is the plan.
All right. Well, hopefully it doesn't sound like we're on Mars today. Hopefully it doesn't sound like we're in the bottom of a shoebox, and hopefully we're able to power through the final show of the calendar year 2025. Now, we have a lot to get into tonight, and I think that the smartest way to do it right now, guys, is I think we could certainly talk about what's going to happen tonight. We talk about tonight's game. But I do think that there is...
Hockey after dark.
I do think that there is something...
Late night tonight, yeah.
Something
it's your favorite, right?
Yeah.
Let's also take a look at where the Flyers are now versus where they were a year ago. I think it's important that, like, it's essentially like an end-of-year review. 2025, are the Flyers any closer to that goal of building a Stanley Cup contender? I think that that's probably worth it. We also have to talk about World Junior. We've seen Porter Martone. We've seen Jett Luchanko. We've seen some other Flyers prospects turn some heads at different points in the tournament as well. And Christian Dvorak, apparently, there's a potential that there's going to be a re-signing of Christian Dvorak, and of course, Flyers Twitter had a meltdown. I think there were other things too. Was there something else you wanted to get to on today's show? On the program?
There's the wild rumor about the Flyers trading for Hartman. I want to get to that too at some point. So we got a lot to talk about.
Okay. Everybody get excited. Bundy, are you excited?
I'm excited.
Okay.
A lot going on, yeah.
Good. I put the comments up. If you're watching over on YouTube, Facebook, or X, now you should hopefully be able to see that. If we have nothing else in this life, we should hopefully at least have that normal part of our show. Okay. I don't know where you guys want to start tonight. Anthony, is there a place that would make...
Well, I think the thing that everybody's watching is the World Junior, so I think that's probably the best place to start. When you look at where the Flyers prospects have been in this tournament, they've had a little bit of everything. I think that there was the whole Martone thing was crazy with the penalty after the empty net goal for smacking that guy on the butt, and the requirement to make an apology, and the whole thing was just crazy. But then he had a really good game against Denmark, right? He had 2 goals in that game and an assist. So I just wanted to know. I mean, what you guys thought. I mean, I think Martone's done well for himself so far as the captain of Canada, and even though they played a couple of closer games maybe than they would have liked, I think that they're right where they expected to be.
Yeah, I thought he got an empty net goal in the first game. He had no points in the second game that they played. I'm trying to remember I can't remember the order of the games they played. They played Czechia.
Yeah,
and then they played Latvia. Canada barely won 2-1.
Yeah,
they took them to overtime and then the Finns destroyed them the next day. Yesterday they played the high school version of the team that was in the tournament. Denmark, just an absolute waste of a team in there.
Awful.
And Porter Martone shined in that game, so that was good to see.
Yeah.
Jett Luchanko has been relegated to the 4th line. It's like the second year in a row now that he's been in the World Juniors that he's not really been a factor at all for the team. It looks like he's going to be a guy that's going to be a 3rd or 4th line player in his career.
You're ready to kind of make that proclamation.
I don't see him as a 1st or 2nd line player down the road. I just don't see that happening. He could be a good depth guy, a penalty kill type, but I just don't see him being able to put up the amount of numbers, the numbers that you see from a top 2-line player in the NHL. Not a shot at him. It's just a reality. I've seen enough now to.
I mean, it's quite possible that that's the case, but right. I mean, it's hard for me to make that determination on a kid that's only. First of all, he's pretty much a year younger than everybody else. Let's keep that in mind, right? Yeah. I mean, he was 11 days away from being in last year's draft class as opposed to the year before.
Right.
So he's one of the youngest players that was drafted in the 24 draft. And it's hard to justify. You sit there and have all this hand-wringing about him, right? Because he's basically playing guys that are almost a year older than him in most cases. He had a terrible first game. Yeah,
they got cooked, their line in that game.
Yeah, their line was not good in that first game. He's been better the last 2. He's done a nice job killing penalties for Team Canada. Really, his speed comes into play a lot there. I think he does a really nice job there. Obviously, the knock on him and we've talked about it on this show in the past, has been that he doesn't shoot the puck enough.
Right.
Right? I don't know if he's a guy that ever figures that out, but if he does, then that gives you, that's like the, you know where his floor is, the ceiling is, hey, shoot the puck, kid. And if you start shooting the puck, then maybe you become that second line center that I think that they think he could be. But until we see it at a professional level, it's hard to sit there and say, "Oh, this is a big swing and a miss."
Yeah, I'm not calling it a miss. I'm saying that you might have drafted your third line center that can kill penalties, can be a checker. But if they think that he's going to be a top 2-line guy that's going to provide the points that a top 2-line guys have, I don't think.
Well, I don't think they ever saw him as a top line guy. I don't think that they ever looked at him that way. I think that they looked at him as a potential to be a number 2.
Okay.
I mean, that was his ceiling, right? And so, like, look, if it ends up that you get a third line center out of it, it wouldn't be the first time that teams drafted a third line center in the teens.
Yeah.
In the first round, right? It happens a lot in the NHL. But they feel like, again, being a year younger than everybody, that they in essence drafted a year early. Like said, okay, we think that we drafted this guy at 13. He might go higher than that next year. Turns out he probably wouldn't have, but that was the thing that they took, and they think that there's an NHL player there, and a lot of people think there's an NHL player there. He wouldn't be on Team Canada if they didn't think there was an NHL player there.
Yeah,
right?
There's no doubt he's an NHL player down the road, but at what level in the NHL?
Correct.
And I think people are asking questions because he got drafted.
He got drafted
in the first round.
They traded down.
Yeah,
They
that's the problem, Anthony, where people are saying, like, if you're going to draft a first rounder, you should be drafting your first round picks to be your top 2-line guys.
Especially when it was year 2 of the rebuild, which goes back to like the fake playoff run that ultimately hurt them.
They've been trying to fit the square piece into a round hole now for quite a while with him. They had to get him traded out of his team in junior. They got him somewhere where they wanted him. He had an opportunity in that to start off the World Juniors differently than last year, and he didn't.
Well, but you don't have any control over that, right? Like, you don't have control over how Team Canada is utilizing him. You don't.
But he also controls what he puts on film. He controls
100%.
He controls what he does.
I'm not trying to suggest.
He controls whether or not he bursts onto the scene and makes the coaches play him at his natural position somewhere else in that line.
Yeah, I'm not trying to suggest that this is not on the player. A player has to certainly perform. In order, if he was performing, he would be higher up the lineup. I get that, and I'm with you on that. But what I'm saying to you is that if they think that he's one of the 12 best forwards in Canada for that age group, under 20, and therefore they have him in the lineup as one of their 12 best forwards. Okay, that's a good thing. The fact that they're playing him on wing on the fourth line, he hasn't shown that he could get to where he needs to get to play higher right now. The Flyers are projecting a little bit further. They're sitting there saying, okay, look, we would love to see him at center. They're not going to play him at center. It's okay. He's playing center for Brantford. He's only played 6 games. Keep in mind, he's only played 6 games for them so far because he had to go off to World Junior.
Right.
Let's see what that looks like as Brantford goes on a run for the second half of the year. He's playing with better talent there. Maybe he plays Memorial Cup. You might see a different version of Jett Luchanko come April than you're seeing right now.
Maybe.
You might. You may
better
not.
hope so. I would kind of hope so.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
I feel like we kind of do this thing where it's you like try to move the goalposts a little bit. All right, well, he's not finding as much success as you want here. Maybe if he ends up on a better junior team. All right, well, that happened. And it's a small sample size, and it's not like he lit it up there, but it's a small sample size. All right, then you go, all right, well, maybe if he goes and gets to play World Junior, he's going to discover some kind of confidence. And then so you move the goalposts there. And now,
it's not moving the goalposts.
But now that he's there and he's underwhelmed, and now he's a fourth-line wing on that team, it's like, all right, well, maybe when he leaves junior, right, and he goes World Juniors and he goes back to his team, maybe in April. I mean, I don't know, maybe. But see, here's the problem. This is where people are right to be frustrated, is that this team made the evaluation that he was the better player for their team than Zeev Buium. And whether you believe Zeev Buium is going to be a number 1 defenseman or not, Zeev Buium was the centerpiece of a deal that got Minnesota a potential franchise cornerstone number 1 defenseman
that they're not guaranteed to keep.
But when you look at what the package was that Minnesota sent, the number 1 player in that deal, the guy that they are banking on, Vancouver is banking on, is Zeev Buium. It's not Marco Rossi. It's Zeev Buium. So they viewed him as the centerpiece of the deal. And when I did that poking around a week or so before the trade was made for Quinn Hughes, it wasn't like, oh, Luchanko is the number one guy that teams are looking for. No, it was like he's not a throwaway, but they were comparing him in the pecking order of being like, all right, the team would want Martone. He's the number one guy. Well, cool, great. Like, he was a high draft pick. He should be somebody that's elite. They want Martone. They want a roster player. They want one of either like a Nesbitt or Luchanko, which makes that like the third most valuable player, maybe, in that trade. So, and that's a difference of one pick in the draft. So, like, I get why people are frustrated because, at the very least, even if Zeev becomes nothing, even if Luchanko becomes nothing, one at this point was valued enough to be the centerpiece of a deal for
a player that they were not going to trade for. For a player that they weren't going to trade for, Russ.
That who wasn't going to trade for?
The Flyers. Everybody went nuts that they wanted the trade for Quinn Hughes. Obviously, we already talked about why the players that Minnesota wanted, and you weren't going to make that move. You weren't trading a Martone. They weren't going to trade Mishkov. That's what it would have taken, one of those two, right, to be the centerpiece of the trade. And the Flyers chose not to do it because they look at it and say, well, we have no guarantee that he's not going to be here beyond 26, 27, and we're not going to give up on a big piece of our future.
In Martone.
In either one of those players.
Well, who's the other one?
I like what Billy
Mishkov.
Guerin said, though, about him getting there. Remember, he said, how do you expect the guy to sign there? And he said, if the hockey's good, the team's good, the player's going to want to stay here.
Right.
And I agree with that.
Well, yes,
and I don't know.
But my point is when you look at where Minnesota is today versus where the Flyers are today, Minnesota's ahead of where the Flyers
are.
Sure,
right?
Sure. That's not. But that's
so
also changing the argument.
No, it's not.
The argument is
because the argument.
You had an asset,
it's not.
a difference of one.
Russ, let me finish because it's not. It's not that you're changing the argument. Okay. The reality of it is if Quinn Hughes came here, and the hockey was, he made the Flyers better, but they're just a first-round playoff team, and then next year it's like, okay, they're still just a first-round playoff team. Is Quinn Hughes going to sit there and go, yeah, I'm going to sign there for 7 years and stick around because they're going to get there eventually? Or would he rather be in a position to say, oh, you know what, let me go back out into free agency and play where I want to play, where I have the best chance of winning a Stanley Cup?
This organization very clearly believes that Quinn Hughes is going to ultimately want to land on the East Coast. I had those conversations.
I think what Russ is saying is that, I don't know if you are saying this, but if Luchanko was part of that trade, that would not have been a centerpiece.
No, he would have been like the third or fourth piece, whereas Buium was the centerpiece.
Yes,
and it's a difference of one pick, and that is where the frustration is. And listen,
my point to you is, what's the argument here? Because they were, even if you drafted Zeev Buium, let's say the Flyers don't draft Luchanko and they draft Zeev Buium, okay? Are they trading? Are they making the trade for Quinn Hughes at this time?
Based on the conversation I had a week before, they were very interested in making a deal for Quinn Hughes. So I don't know, unless the person that I talked to specifically was blowing a ton of smoke off the record. Like, I would say that they were interested, but they ultimately didn't want to move. They didn't want to move Porter Martone. They didn't want to move Porter Martone, who's the only valuable prospect they have at that level to be the centerpiece of a deal. That is the problem. If they at least had Zeev Buium here, guess what? Vancouver viewed him as a centerpiece level. They didn't view Luchanko as that, and that doesn't mean that Quinn Hughes had to be the deal. That just means that in theory, play this one out, other potential trades that could work their way out, whether it's for a 1C, another top defenseman. Buium is viewed as a higher value player, a higher ceiling player, and it's the difference of one pick. That is where the frustration lies. So, we can give Jett Luchanko grace. You want to show him grace because he's a year younger than everybody else at junior? You go right ahead.
Yeah.
But I'm going to live in the reality of this team still needs a number one center and a number one defenseman, and they would have been better off having that additional asset that is of legitimate value to other teams than this maybe prospect who maybe becomes a third-line center.
And Zeev Buium might be that too, Russ. He might be that too. Why, just because he's playing in the NHL, that makes him automatically a lock to be a star player?
You can see he's got the skill set, though.
Yeah, well, he's got the...
Yeah, he does.
But this also comes back to my point from before, that even if neither of those guys amount to anything, right, Buium or Luchanko, one of them was valued enough to be able to go out and make a trade for a legitimately good player, a very good player, one that you would say Bundy is what? Quinn Hughes is a top 4 defenseman in this league?
Yes.
So, that's where it's at.
You had to pay the price if you wanted Quinn Hughes.
And the Flyers just
didn't want to get rid of Martone or Mishkov, understandable.
Which they don't want to.
That's fine.
So, okay, we've done enough spinning the wheels on Luchanko. Martone is the guy And Bundy, I actually want to throw this to you as the former player. Martone, to me, he gets voted by the rest of the team as the captain of the team. And in the first game, he scores an empty netter, right? And then he pats a guy from the other team on the butt. And then it becomes a whole big thing. It's an international incident. He has to release a statement. They also don't shake hands at the end of a game. That I don't remember there ever being handshakes that early in a tournament, but fine. It feels like maybe initially Martone was kind of wearing the weight of the world on his shoulders a little bit because he was the captain of the Canadian team, and maybe he was playing a little bit outside. And he was just kind of outside of his element. Did you see that at all? Because it feels like he's gotten more into his game as that tournament's gone on.
I lost the last part of your thing. I was reading something on the thing. Sorry. I was reading
Because you said Bundy, that's why I didn't answer.
Martone getting lost, like with the butt tapping and then the other thing. It feels like maybe the captaincy was weighing heavily on him, but as the tournament's gone on, he's gotten to kind of settle into his regular game.
Yeah, he has, and he was voted for by his peers to be the captain, and even in the games, the first two games where he didn't score, like except for the empty net goal, but I mean I'm not counting that. I thought he still made an impact on the game, even though he wasn't on the scoreboard. And then I thought he really got his game going against that Danish team yesterday. But I wouldn't. I mean. There's a lot that comes with that role of being a captain of a team like that. Dale Hunter's your coach, not known as the most sportsmanlike gentleman in the history of the hockey.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think a lot of stuff comes with the flair of trying to impress your coach, trying to get your teammates to buy in. It was a revenge game against Czechia from last year that they lost, so they were trying to prove something. I don't put a whole lot into it, but I do think he's had a pretty decent tournament.
Were you shocked by the response about the tapping?
Yeah, I
of the
was.
player?
I thought it was ridiculous.
I mean, come on now. I mean, Team Canada, they're a high virtue, high standard organization, as we well know. To make them put out a statement, I thought was the most ridiculous thing.
It's crazy.
Like absolutely, remarkably ridiculous. When, if you remember, wasn't it 20 years ago, Bundy, when Team USA I'm going to say 20 years ago. It's about that. I forget who the players were, but first Team USA had a guy went by and after he scored a goal, high-fived all the Canadian players, and then Team Canada had a guy do it back the other way, and they cross-checked him like as he was skating by onto the ice, and he did a little bit of a flop. Like that kind of stuff happens in that tournament. Like it just does. Like it was no big deal. It's not like he went up to the guy and like got in his face or whatever. He just
didn't tap him and then turn around and then get in the face.
It was nothing.
Like, who
it was
cares?
nothing.
It wasn't a big deal.
The handshake
They
thing.
made it a big deal.
The handshake is a joke.
Thing, yeah.
Like,
I saw Pronger put out the next day that like he didn't remember ever doing handshakes that early in the
He
tournament.
asked me on Twitter. He goes, "When did they start doing this?"
Yeah.
And somebody said 2020, but then somebody said no, they did it in 1920.
Okay.
Like going back, but I don't remember. I played in the Olympics that year. I don't remember doing preliminary game handshakes.
Yeah, it just seems ridiculous.
It is.
Doesn't
It's
Like,
the stupidest thing ever.
And again,
you should just do it during the elimination games, not during the round robin.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. Round robin is like a regular season game.
Right.
Could you imagine if we had a handshake at the end of every regular season game?
There'd be fights.
Could you imagine?
Oh, yeah.
Like it's stupid. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah. No,
So once you kind of wipe away those elements of it, if you just look at Martone's game, especially was it last night is when he had that shot from the right side, right, where he goes, it's like an incredibly tight angle shot. You start to see a lot of what the Flyers were kind of hoping that he's going to be. You see a guy who, like, this is the interesting thing when, we were talking about wait until World Junior for Luchanko, for Martone. Remember we were talking about Gavin McKenna. McKenna wasn't finding the same kind of success at Penn State. People were talking about, is he falling out of that number one spot? He had a hat trick. You're starting to see some of these guys, their game is translating from college or from junior to World Juniors, and then you expect that it's going to probably continue to be strong. Martone, I think, maybe hasn't looked as dominant throughout the tournament as people maybe wanted to see him.
Right, I agree.
But he's looking. I would kind of say he looks better every game.
Yeah.
I'm not like sounding the alarms, especially because of what he's done at Michigan State so far this year.
No, there's no
as
reason.
well.
There's no reason to sound the alarms over 2 games, 3 games. Like there's really just not. It's just this very small sample, and he's played well. On the whole, he's played well. It's gotten better, like you said. Maybe the first game wasn't the greatest, but it's gotten better since then. I don't know. I don't put as much stock into this as ever. I understand you're playing against the best players of your age group, and that's that's something for projection purposes. You can look at it and go, okay, all right, whatever. But I mean, you also gotta not go overboard with it, right? You can't look at a way a guy plays in a series of games of 5 or 6 games at the age of 18 or 19 and make a determination for what that player is going to be in their professional career, right?
It gives you a small sample size.
It's a small sample, right?
Yeah.
It's a small sample. So, you just don't know how guys feel and whatever. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. But it's a good little measuring stick, but let's not make too much out of it.
Jack Berglund got named captain of Sweden.
Look good.
Have you heard anything about like how the organization's viewing it? Because like he's not a guy like when you're talking about the prospects in the organization. He's not one that like typically
they're high on
to the front of the line.
Danny's been saying his name for a couple years now. Like I mean, he's been saying and then Jack Berglund. Berglund. Like I don't think anybody talks about him as much because where he was picked, where he's been playing, he doesn't get as many eyeballs on him all the time. I think that's kind of why it's kind of been a little bit under the radar, but they've been high on him for a bit now. They think that there's another NHL player there for sure.
Which is interesting.
He's looked good. I haven't seen a lot of the Swedish games.
Yeah.
Just the highlights, but he's looked good out there.
And both Finns
and then
Runen,
right?
Yeah.
Runen
and Westergaard.
Yeah,
there's the guy I just mentioned.
Yeah, Westergaard's you know what? Like I watched a little bit of one Finland game, and he's got a little bit of that rat in him.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
Like a little bit of that little nasty play, like gets under your skin kind of thing. Like again, it's just a little thing. It's like not anything that I'm not going to make a big deal out of people who are playing well either. But I think that's something you look at and go, oh, that's something about his game that I maybe didn't know.
It's nice in a sense. Like I actually think that on the whole, like in the past, I haven't looked at World Junior as like something that I genuinely care much about or I want to tune into. A lot of times it's because you look at the Flyers prospect pool and like they're not usually in prominent positions. But when you have 3 guys have a letter on their sweater, right? It's Berglund and Martone are both captains, and then was it Runen is the assistant captain for Finland. So like you look at it and you don't get to see these guys play a lot. I mean, obviously with Martone it's a little bit different playing in the Big Ten. But this year, for whatever reason, like I've tuned into the tournament more. But I will say that it is an absolute failure. I mean, I absolutely loathe the lack of TV availability for this tournament. I know that it's on NHL Network, and I know that if you have traditional cable, it's a great place to be.
Well,
but there are a whole bunch of cord cutters like myself, like that have YouTube TV and some of the others.
I'm a cord cutter. I have NHL Network.
We do not. How do you have NHL Network?
I have Hulu as my live TV, and they have NHL Network.
Do they? Yeah. Oh, you use Hulu. Hulu's live TV stinks.
Hulu has NHL Network?
Yeah.
The actual Hulu app?
No, the live TV.
Oh, okay.
You have to do Hulu
live,
plus
you have to have live TV.
It stinks.
Yeah.
YouTube TV is significantly better.
YouTube TV doesn't have NHL Network.
It doesn't. You're sitting here saying it's significantly better, but you want to watch a network that you can't get that I can.
That's why you get a VPN.
All right. Well,
no wonder there's so much pirate issues. Because I mean, people put them out. If people can't watch, they're going to find some way to watch it online.
I mean, I will tell you, I put a tweet out because I wasn't looking for a pirated site or anything.
Right.
But I was like, does anybody know how to watch this? And I will say, so ESPN Plus does occasionally have some of the games. I don't know all the games.
Canada's second game was on ESPN Plus.
They have some, which is great. But then, man, I'll tell you what, between DMs and the responses to that tweet, I had like 7 or 8 different sites that you probably shouldn't go on to go watch things. It's against whatever. But it is certainly a way that you can watch the tournament. So I don't know. I've actually enjoyed it to this point. And why don't you tell the people where we are right now?
Yes, I do.
Start with where we're at.
Yes,
that's critical.
We are at Chickies and Pete's at Parx Casino. Big crowd in here tonight. It's great to see everybody out here during the holiday. I kind of expected that it would be a bigger crowd because of the holiday. People are still enjoying some time off from work and are out here having some fun in the casino and stopping in and getting some early dinner, late lunch, whatever you want to say, here at Chickies and Pete's. Don't forget that it is the on-site host each and every week for the Snow The Goalie radio show here at Chickies and Pete's. No matter the sports season, Chickies and Pete's has you covered. Make sure when you stop in, you get one of the fine meals that we get. Bundy's got his meal with the clam chowder and the peel and eat shrimp and the traditional pizza. I've switched now for the 3rd week in a row. I've gone to the fish tacos, which are fantastic. Russ is now on the grilled chicken sandwich with the crab fries
and shrimp. I do the shrimp.
You do the shrimp now.
I do the shrimp with Bundy as well.
Yeah,
Bundy, I got to thank you.
Yeah, they're good, aren't they?
They are good. Cocktail sauce?
Yeah, they're good.
That's rocking.
Yeah, so make sure you bounce out to any one of the more than 17 Chickies and Pete's locations in the Philadelphia Philadelphia area. And be sure to check them out next time you're at a Flyers game as well. The next home game is January 6th against the Anaheim Ducks in Cutter Gauthier. And if you go in and go to there and you want to go to Chickie's and Pete's, you can find them in either the East Food Hall or at the southeast entrance in front of Section 103.
Fantastic. You know what? I know that we don't usually like to do ad reads back to back, but we're almost halfway through the show, and that's typically the time when we go to the Player of the Week. I think we should go there.
Yeah, and it's not. This is a tough one, guys.
I know.
Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, this was. By the way, this is the Payroll Service Solutions Player of the Week, brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY. That's 1-866-PAY-EASY. And it's tough, really, because there was only two games between the last time we did a show.
Yeah.
It's a game against Chicago last week.
Yeah.
And then there was the game in Seattle Sunday night. That's it. So we don't have a lot to go on.
I do. I have one, and it's somebody who hasn't showed up on the point-scoring column the last two games, but somebody that's been totally noticeable. Maybe one of their most effective players, especially last game. But I'm going with Denver Barkey.
Yeah.
Finally. I mean, he's been all over the ice. I mean, he makes regulars look like abysmal out there.
Yeah.
Just his energy and the way he approaches the game. He's going to be a good player. I really like watching him. But I'm going Denver Barkey for his effort and his knack to get around the puck in the net as my Player of the Week.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bundy, on Barkey. And the thing I'll add to that, and everything you said is 100% correct, I just like watching the little plays he makes.
Yep.
Like along the wall where he knows where his teammate is, make a quick little touch pass, or the way he uses his body, even though it's small, to kind of screen off a player to get to the puck. He really wins a lot of those 50-50s. But it's more so than that, I think that he's making the Flyers think about the lineup a little bit.
Yeah,
I think when you look at down the line here, I think there's some guys who maybe have to start performing a little bit better if they want to keep a job, because Denver Barkey has come in and shown them that he could play at this level.
Well, right now that guy's Garnet Hathaway, right? Like,
it's
essentially
for
lost
right
his
now.
Playing job, right?
Yes.
In terms of Barkey. Now I don't know what the future holds for Barkey after the road trip and down the road, but he's making it pretty hard to send himself back.
Yeah, but
I agree. I think it's so. It's interesting. Part of me said Carl Grundstrom.
Again, another
back-to-back games with a goal.
Yeah.
And again, there's a guy who is making a case to remain on this team.
Yeah.
And has taken advantage of every opportunity. But I'm gonna side with you guys though on Barkey, because if you remember last week we said we went with
Grundstrom last week,
and Barkey was in the conversation last week, and it was partially he got the call up to the big show, and he actually looked like he belonged. I think it's another unanimous week here. We're gonna go Denver Barkey.
Yeah, we should talk about a couple of the players that might be impacted by this, because I think there's more to it than that. But that is your Payroll Service Solutions Flyers Player of the Week. Once again, brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for the smart choice in payroll services. Payroll Service Solutions, catering to the small and medium-sized business to handle all of your payroll needs. Call them once again at 1-866-PAY-EASY.
They say that they can handle the small and medium business. If you're a large business, do they just take it and break it off into chunks?
That's a good question.
Do they go large into like 2 medium or large into 3 small?
That's a great question.
I would assume that if you also have a large business, Payroll Service Solutions can help you as well.
I'm sure they can.
By the way, how good would Denver Barkey have looked on Team Canada World Juniors last year?
Yeah.
Didn't make it. Didn't get drafted high enough. That's the politics that goes into this tournament through the agents, GMs lobbying for their own players to make the team. He got screwed because that kid's probably better than most guys coming off the team last year anyway. Watch his career compared to some of those guys.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it's pretty rare that you are as high on a young player as you are like the passion.
I don't
about
love
it.
young guys till they get around a while, but I love this kid.
And so like that says something.
He's the most excited I've been about a young guy around here in 5 years.
Who was the last young guy that you can remember being excited about?
Probably Nolan Patrick before we got his samples of him. But I was pretty excited to have him here as a high pick, big guy that I thought could skate. It just didn't pan out. But when I see Barkey now, I know there's a real deal, and I haven't been that excited about a young guy in a long time. And that includes anyone else that's been around the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. And look, the thing that really excited me about it is, like, you talk about Dale Hunter earlier, right, and the way him and his brother run that team in London. To pick that guy when you have all the talent that goes through that London team, and say, that's our captain.
Right.
That guy's going to lead us to a championship.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's something about that they recognized in him as a competitor.
Yeah.
That said, we think that there's more to this guy than maybe a lot of people thought when he was, because of his size and everything else.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. And I'll tell you what, I wonder where this impacts players down the line. I don't mean right now. Mm-hmm. I don't mean coming into the trade deadline. I mean down the line next season. Like, Denver Barkey is going to be part of this team. Forster's going to come back. Now, all of a sudden, you have a glut of top 9 wingers.
Yeah. Not a bad problem to have.
It's not, but who's going to go?
Owen Tippett.
Well, I think Tippett's one of the guys that you have to wonder where he fits in.
He doesn't.
I also think Bobby Brink is kind of in that mode too. I wonder just where he fits. Well, I think that they've both been kind of put on notice by having Barkey play.
Yeah.
And not by someone not saying Tockett's called them into his office or Briere's brought them in and said, hey, shape up or ship out. It's not that. I think they see it themselves in the room. Like, this kid's come in here and he's taking big minutes. He's playing on the power play, right? Like, he's taking roles that other people have had. If you don't recognize it and start to play better, well, then you're making that decision easier for the team.
My honest hunch is that Brink would be the first one to go because the contract isn't prohibitive. And I know that you'd probably argue that Tippett, if he's a 30-goal scorer, it's not a prohibitive contract. But the streakiness, and it's still a bigger cap hit than what Brink is. Part of me thinks that Brink might be the one.
Brink's also younger, which makes him more attractive.
Yeah,
right. He's only 24. So
I like Brink though, so I would not want to see the Flyers make that determination to move on from him too early. I think that would ultimately be a mistake. But I think that he's certainly on notice. Tippett, listen, thank you. Tippett to me is the guy who just across the board. We can look short term. I just don't think he fits. I don't think he fits his team. I don't think he fits his coach. The question that I guess I'll have for you guys is, it's year one of the coach, and obviously the coach goes into it, says blank slate, prove that you make sense, that you fit, all that. At what point do you think Rick Tocchet looks at it and says, these are my guys, these are the ones that if we move on from, I'm okay? Is it the midway point of the season? Do you think he's there already with some of these guys? Is it the full season for a few? Where are you at?
Bundy, I would think that he's pretty much got an idea now, right? 37 games into the season, you probably have an idea of who you want to go to battle with and who you don't, right? You don't need much more than that.
Yeah, and he's going to start having his favorites, guys that'll be his favorites, and he'll want to keep those guys, and that's when the discussions come in with the general manager about, what do we do with these guys, or how do I rearrange what we're doing? Because the coach will always find his favorites through the course of the year, and it'll be up to the general manager to make those personnel decisions if that's what needs to happen. If Barkey's come in here and absolutely jumped the shark and taken someone's job, then they're going to keep him here and let him have that chance to stay here and continue to develop at the NHL level rather than the American League.
There's an interesting point over here that I wanted to get to, and I think this is actually a good one. From Jay Grebby, he says, I think if they re-sign Dvorak, I think Cates is an odd man out, too many 3Cs on the roster. But let me pivot this back to you, Ant.
Yeah.
They have viewed Cates as a guy who theoretically could also play wing.
Correct.
Does that change the calculus at all? If they do bring back Dvorak, it's not going to change anything for this year, but going forward, do you think that there's a chance that they then just kind of do that evaluation? They go, all right, Cates as a winger is fine.
Look,
he still has more value.
First of all, even if they re-sign Dvorak, which I think is coming pretty soon, we can talk about that too. I think that Noah Cates, because he can play center, is still incredibly valuable. Even if he's further down your lineup, even if you're playing him ultimately as a fourth line winger, Noah Cates still has great value because he can play center.
Yeah.
Just because there's such a dearth of centers that competitive teams want in the league. And so with that being said, yes, Noah Cates, I think, has a better foothold on this roster, even if he's not producing like they would like him to do, because he does so many other things well. Fair?
I agree. I actually think Cates is kind of a staple.
Yeah.
In terms of where you want him in your bottom six. You can play him anywhere. He's great defensively. He checks well. He's always in good position. And I think there's a little bit of offensive flair there for a guy you're looking for in that depth line. He's not going to fill the net for you, but I think there's some offense there that we saw a little bit of it last year. But I think there's still a little bit more there for him.
Let me ask the uncomfortable question. This is not me playing fantasy GM. But let me play this one out. Say that this front office really does think that Luchanko next year is going to be their 3C or something. Like they think that he's going to be on the team.
Can I stop you for a second? It might change what you're going to ask. It might change what you're going to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I would bet that Jett Luchanko plays in the AHL to start next year, at the start of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
But hypothetically, if they were to think that he could be on this roster next year, play as a 3C or 4C, and there's a team that comes a knocking this season around the trade deadline or this offseason around the draft, and they offer you something that is just above and beyond what you would expect to get for a guy like Noah Cates, do you have that conversation? Or do you need to see what Luchanko looks like at the start of next year, whether it's in the NHL or the AHL, before you consider moving on from
it depends on what the deal is.
Okay.
Right. I mean, it really does. I mean, are you improving the team by moving off of Noah Cates? If you are, then yeah. Okay. Sure. You take that, you consider it. But I don't necessarily know that happens, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know. I mean, look, Toronto traded a first-round pick and Grabenkin for the kind of player that Noah Cates is.
Yeah.
Right? For a lot.
And Cates is younger.
Right. So,
Costs less.
Is that enough? Or you look at something like that and say that's still a look-ahead kind of move where you're like, okay, well, we're going to get a middle first-round pick, middle to late first-round pick, and a project player. That's still something that doesn't make us better for 4 or 5 years. Maybe you don't do that. Maybe you need something that's a little bit more immediate. It depends on what the offer is.
And so it seems like a crazy premise, but I bring it now back to the rumor comes out over the weekend that the Flyers are actively looking to re-sign Christian Dvorak.
Yes.
And in the least shocking development of all time, social media went nuts. And it wasn't just Flyers Twitter. It was also, I have made the mistake now of going into a few of the Facebook groups a little bit too often. So now my normal Facebook feed is full of ridiculously outlandish takes that are so absurd, so patently stupid.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to say anybody's stupid these days. These are genuinely stupid ideas being put out into the periphery, right? Dvorak is a guy that we thought if this team's not in playoff contention, they'll deal him at the deadline. It sounds like the trade market right now is really, really rough for centers, but they're having this conversation about whether or not they should re-sign him, and that leads us to Anthony SanFilippo versus Flyers Twitter.
This is a Snow the Goalie showdown. Anthony SanFilippo versus Flyers Twitter. Get ready. Fight.
The people in the restaurant couldn't hear that.
They had no idea why we paused for a minute there.
We just froze.
They can hear that on the radio, though?
They can hear it. Yeah, they could hear it on the stream. So anyway, Anthony.
Yeah, it drove me nuts that everybody lost their minds about signing Christian Dvorak. Flyers Twitter Bundy was going nuts at, oh, great, we're going to have another third-line center for 5 years, right? Like, it was just short-sighted complaining, which is usually what happens on Flyers Twitter. It's a lot of short-sighted complaining. It's a miserable, miserable experience. And I'm sure you go onto the Facebook groups, which I avoid. I'm sure it was pretty bad on there too, right? Similar stuff. The reality of it is you look at Christian Dvorak and you say, well, why are you signing him now? Okay, and you can't sign him until after January 1st, which is only 2 days away. But I think that a deal will be had sometime shortly thereafter. What's really got to be determined now is the term and the amount and what you're paying him. He's currently making $5.1 million this season. And the reason you have to kind of make a determination on this sooner rather than later is if the two sides can't come together and can't agree on a contract, then the Flyers have to sit there and go, well, maybe we do trade him at the deadline.
Well, yeah, you almost have no choice.
Right, you got to get something for it, right? So that's why you address this first, more so than, say, addressing Zegras, because he's a restricted free agent. You don't have to worry about that right now, even though I would have signed him to a contract as soon as possible. That's just me personally, but their philosophy on that is we can wait on Zegras. You can't really wait on Dvorak. Now, let's look at what it could potentially be. I'm hearing that it's going to be a slight raise over what he's currently getting, which is he's currently 5.1, so it's going to be somewhere in the fives. I know Dvorak's camp would love for it to be 6.
Right.
I'm not sure it's going to get there. I think it's going to be in the mid-5s somewhere. Question is, how long are you going? I think Dvorak would rather it be shorter term. The Flyers might want it to be an extra year. It's either going to be a 3 or a 4-year deal.
Okay.
All right. I think Dvorak would prefer the 3 and then see where he's at. The Flyers feel, because he feels like he can also get a little bit more.
He turns 30 in February, I think.
Yeah. So kind of gives him an opportunity for one more contract after that.
With the cap going up every year.
Right, with the cap going up, right. So that's the other thing that ties
that'll be his
into it.
last contract. If he gets a 3-year deal,
then he could go.
that'll
He
be his
can get one more contract at a bigger number because, at that point, the cap's so high, everybody's paying a lot more money. I have no problem with that. I don't know about you, but if you're signing Christian Dvorak, ultimately, right now he's playing on your top line. He's not a top line center, but he can certainly serve in that 2-3 role, right, in your middle 6 and do a good enough job. And if you're paying him $5.6 million a year for 3 years or 4 years, that's a workable contract in my mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with them signing him. You don't want to get – and Danny's smart enough to know you can't get locked in on a guy super long-term at a high AAV because then you just pigeonhole yourself as to what you're trying to do. But, no, I mean, listen, the whole league needs a center. If you go look down the list and everybody needs a center, look, that's why Toronto paid out the yin-yang for Lawton.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it now, Grabankin would have been more than enough to get Lawton.
Yeah.
Without even putting the pick in there. You got a first-round pick. That was nothing against Lawton. He was good soldier here. That was one of the most ridiculous trades I've ever seen in my life.
And the thing is that we knew that there was going to be a team that was going to overpay.
They were going to give him we knew he was going to get a first-round pick, and then they gave him a player on top, which is just insane.
It's crazy.
I don't know how many points Scotty Lawton has this year, but he's nowhere near the former player he was.
No.
It's interesting. The Dvorak thing to me, this says a few things to me. One, if you're willing to have this conversation with Dvorak, to me, it signals they don't think Luchanko is NHL ready or that he's going to be to start next year. That is pretty clear. It also tells me that they are very cognizant of the fact that this offseason, this free agent class has nothing to offer at the center position of any value. And it also probably signals that the trade market for centers is horrific or is going to be so incredibly expensive that it doesn't make any sense to not have that conversation with Dvorak. Because remember, this time last year, they were having that conversation, do they extend Lawton or do they trade him? And the Fletcher ideal of it all for a long time was, well, if we trade a guy like that, you have to figure out a way to bring in a guy like that. And I think if you want to apply that logic here, is $5 million, $5.5 or whatever, on a short-term deal, does that prevent you from making a potentially bigger move down the line? It doesn't. Is that going to be a cheaper route on a more sure thing, somebody who's in your building now, somebody that you understand on the ice and away from it? Is that a better thing? I would say so. Because I think whatever you're going to have to go out and spend in the trade market, like around the draft or whatever, is going to cost you significantly more. So I don't actually have a problem with it. And he's 29 now. He's 30 in February. The timeline isn't an issue. He's not like a 35-year-old center. I think it's fine. I think people need to calm down. My qualm is I don't think you've gotten enough of a look of what it looks like to have Dvorak and Zegras split up. And when you're trying to negotiate with both players, I would rather have a holistic view on, does Dvorak help other guys, help make other guys on the team better? Does Zegras, away from Dvorak, make other guys better? It's great that those two together work as well as they do. And I would argue Dvorak has helped Zegras kind of unlock that point-per-game guy, but I almost want to see them play apart for a bit before you hand out a contract. What does Dvorak look like if he doesn't have point-per-game Zegras with him? What does Zegras look like without Dvorak?
I think that having a guy like, why would you separate them? Having a guy like Dvorak, who is really responsible, unlocks Zegras to be what he is. And I think Zegras, one of the things you're not giving credit to is Zegras and Konechny work really well together. They play really well together. So, but they're both able to do what they do because you have a responsible center in between them.
Yeah.
And so they sit there and say, well, I'd like to see how they play without him. Well, why? just leave well enough alone. It's working.
Because inevitably you are going to split guys up. Like, lines get changed throughout the course of a season.
Yeah, but I don't think it changes players.
It's almost like the chicken or the egg thing.
Yeah.
Is Zegras a point-per-game guy because he has a more defensive-minded, well-rounded player with him in Dvorak? I would say maybe. Is Dvorak having a career year? Because remember, he's never crossed the 38-point threshold in his career. He's on pace right now for around 50 points. Is he having this breakout season by his standards because he's playing with a really good player?
It's not just about points, Russ. That's the thing. Like, and I know everybody wants to look at the point totals, and I get it. But Dvorak played well under Tocchet when they were together in Arizona. Like, just did. And so he thrives in this system. Mm-hmm. So in that regard, if you know the coach is going to be here for a few years, why not have him be part of the team, right? Because he plays well in that system.
Yeah.
That makes sense to you, Bundy?
Yep.
So, I mean,
we were talking, though, like, I was just thinking about the depth of this team, just reading some of the comments as we go. What are they, or what can they do with Delorier and Hathaway if those guys are played out of their spots entirely?
You're not doing anything with Delorier because he's got a no move. He's got a no movement clause. That was a Chuck Fletcher thing. You can't change that. But you know what? It's okay to have that guy as he accepts that role as being that guy. Right? He's just a locker room guy. So you aren't moving him. Hathaway's the more interesting one. And like, what do you do with that guy? Like, I don't necessarily know if he has any value at all. Do you just waive him and
send him to the minors
and maybe try and terminate the contract or something like that or whatever? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what you do with Hathaway.
I would imagine that there's got to be a team. Like, listen.
It's just interesting because there's a lot of bodies coming.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of turnaround.
Hathaway's had a really bad year by pretty much every measure.
Yeah.
But there are always teams that are trying to make the playoffs that want a guy like that in their bottom six.
I don't know. Man.
I just don't know.
The only thing I can think of,
he just doesn't look like the same player.
Maybe another team looks at Hathaway, because the one thing about Hathaway is he's a great locker room guy, great culture guy, team guy. Maybe there's another team that's kind of young that needs that kind of person to come in, and maybe they would take him. I don't know. I don't know that with any. I have no knowledge of that. But that's really the only value I see for him. Yeah, he could kill some penalties when he's out there. It's like the one thing he did well this season with the Flyers. But I don't think you could give him a regular shift again. He's just been that bad this year.
Yeah.
He just has. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because he wasn't this bad last year.
No, he was a good player last year.
He was okay last year.
No, I mean, he'd go around, he'd get hits, he'd stir things up.
Yeah.
He was efficient. Yeah.
Some guys just kind of fall off. I don't know.
Yeah, Mike Butts is asking whose contract gets terminated first, Hathaway or Zamula. I think Zamula's contract gets terminated first. I think something's going to happen there pretty soon. He's 10th on the depth chart at this point.
Zamula is.
So, yeah, he's 10th on the depth chart. And you don't need 10 defensemen.
No.
So I think there's an opportunity for him to play overseas. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they terminate that contract. So
I like Joe McCloskey's thinking here. Toronto could use a player like Hathaway.
I'm sure
they just got Lawton last year.
Yeah,
same thing.
And maybe they need another one.
Yeah.
I know that there was something you wanted to get to, and then I want to do that look back at last year. You said there was a thing that you wanted to say. There was a prank or something that you wanted to bring
I got
up
to
on
talk
the show?
about it. Yeah.
And then I want to get to this time last year versus now.
Yeah, okay. This has absolutely nothing to do with hockey, but I want to throw it to you guys just because, we all do some fun stuff over the holidays. And so Christmas Eve, we go to my parents' house for Christmas Eve dinner, the Seven Fishes, the big Italian thing, right? And beginning of the night, when we're kind of hanging out in the kitchen, everybody's waiting to eat, my three kids, who, by the way, are all grown adults, my children, okay? They're all Andrew's 24th birthday yesterday, right? So my youngest is 24.
Happy birthday to him.
So they're in the other room, in the living room, with my niece and my nephew. Okay, who are a high school senior and an 8th grader. So that's the five. The five of them are in the other room.
Sounds like trouble.
I don't know what the heck they're doing. So finally, I go in the other room, and I find out what they've done. We're at my mother's house. So my mother, on the one wall, has all of their graduation photos, except for my niece. It was like an 8th grade photo, but all their high school graduation photos up on the wall. They've taken them all down, and what they had done on Thanksgiving is they took individual pictures of each of them flipping the bird or double bird.
Really?
Okay? And they had them printed out, 8x10s, and put them into the frames and put them back up onto the wall. All right? So my mother had no idea this was happening. We brought my mother into the other room to take a family photo, and all of a sudden she looks at the wall and she's like, what happened? And she's freaking out. So it was just a great move. The plan was actually my daughter's fiance's idea.
Good guy.
Yeah, Kevin. It was his
Very
idea,
smart.
and my mother has kind of like disowned him now because of this. Jokingly.
Oh, okay.
But yes. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Do you like that?
That is good.
Fun little
Good
prank,
stuff. Yeah,
right?
that's good. I
A
like
fun
that.
little prank.
That's a fun prank.
They did a great job with that. I was impressed.
All right.
My kids are pretty funny.
I don't know where they got that from.
That's certainly not from me,
But
right?
good for them. All right, so guys, I wanted to just I think a lot of times people become a prisoner of the moment. They look at the most recent result, and that either gives them the confidence to go through the rest of the week or through the rest of the day, or the Flyers lose a game and they're ready to sell everything off and the world is coming to an end. So I wanted to look back at where this team was a year ago. And so the Flyers played on New Year's Eve last year against San Jose. Well, I just want to go over the lineup really quick and then also take a look at who they've added since. Last year,
their record that day was
17, 17, and 4.
Okay. All right, and their record currently is 19, 11, and 7. So
Yeah.
it's an increase. It's improvement.
They are
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
They are definitely better. So, the roster last year, a lot of similar names. Brink, Konechny, Couturier, Hathaway. You lost guys like Lawton and Paling. Cates, Michkov, Frost, Forster, Tippett, Farabee. So those were some of the guys that were staples in the lineup. And then on the blue line, you had Zamula, Sanheim, York, Drysdale, Sealer, Ristolainen, in goal, Sam Ersson, and Alexei Kolosov. Okay. Are the Flyers, let's go position by position, in goal with Dan Vladar, and yes, we know Sam Ersson's issues, but Vladar and Ersson as a tandem. Do we feel better about that position right now than we did last year with the mix of Ersson, Kolosov, Fedotov?
Yes,
Okay.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the blue line, they have essentially brought in and had Emil Andre as more of an every night kind of guy.
Yeah.
in place of Zamula.
Yeah. Would
Yeah.
you say that on the whole, and with the bounce back of Jamie Drysdale this year, it looks like Cam York has really kind of found more of a consistent game. Sanheim continues to level up. Do we feel like the blue line is better now than it was last season?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Very much. I think Drysdale is one of the more underrated stories that nobody's talking about. He may not be the big power play quarterback that everybody thought he was going to be, but at 5-on-5, he's been one of the better defensemen.
Yeah.
On
He's
the team.
improved a lot.
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really,
A lot.
much
Yeah.
so. Very much so.
Okay. So then we get to the forwards. Now, obviously, the biggest step back, and it's by a pretty significant margin, is Michkov this year, just production-wise, down. He does seem to be kind of finding his game more. But like that is very clearly the step back. This team got rid of Lawton, they got rid of Paling, they got rid of Farabee and of Frost.
And they've basically benched Hathaway now at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in their place, you have guys like Grunstrom, Grabenkin, Abels, Barkey,
Zegras and
Zegras,
Dvorak.
and Dvorak.
Yeah.
Would you say that right now this forward core is better than it was last year?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, team's better.
So
Yeah.
we say by position group, team is better. Looking at the short term and long term, they've also added to the organization Porter Martone, who is now their number one prospect. All the people who want to light themselves on fire and light their hair on fire every day on Flyers Twitter and on Facebook, can we just have a moment to zoom out and realize that even if you don't love the coach, even if you don't love something about the team right now, they're in a better position now than they were a year ago,
Yeah.
right?
There's no question about that, and that's the thing. That's why we have Anth versus Flyers Twitter, right? That's why it's become a thing this year. I have not seen it this bad before. I've just not. Like fans used to be on social media. They used to be inquisitive. They used to, want to have engaging conversations. Now you can't. There's no engagement. It's all doom and gloom, nonstop doom and gloom for a team that's winning, for a team that's in a good spot, and it's improved. I don't understand
And
it.
I think you could even look at it like this. If this were a team that just had a bunch of patchwork guys,
The other thing
like
you
say
did-
if their defensive core was better because they brought in a guy who's like a Niskanen, right, who's only here for a year,
Yeah.
or they brought in a couple of forwards who were like 35 or something, who were just kind of patchworking it, that'd be one thing. But like Zegras is in theory going to be a long-term piece. getting to see what Barkey looks like, long-term piece. Grunstrom is making a case to play. You expect that at some point Alex Bump is going to be up here. Emil Andre is a younger guy who's gotten a legitimate look. I don't know. I certainly have never been one to be known as a shill. But, like, I look at it and I think it's kind of hard to argue. Like, there are positives here.
You forgot one thing when you wanted to compare last year to this year.
Oh, no, I don't know. Was there anything different?
Is it with the coach?
Not answering any of your questions.
The coach is different, yeah. It seems like the guys are playing with
How about Torts doing a job interview on ESPN like 10 days ago?
The Buffalo job? And they've been.
That was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen.
And Buffalo's been fantastic.
And they've won 9 in a row, so he can't get a job.
It was really out of control.
It was actually literally like he was doing a job interview on the panel at ESPN for Jarmo Kekalainen.
Yes.
Yeah, it was literally like, I'm just going to.
He was breaking down what they were doing poorly in their systems.
Yes.
On television.
Yeah. Going over players that he'd like to change and stuff. Oh, yeah.
Oh, what a gem.
Oh, yeah.
What a gem.
all the best.
Now they've won 9 in a row. They're going into Dallas tomorrow night for looking for 10 in a row.
Yep. That's crazy.
Well, time to make a coaching change there, right?
There was one game in Fire Lindy Rough. Yeah, you watch.
Yeah.
Guys, is there anything else that you wanted to get to tonight? It is our final show of 2025.
No, it's been a good year. It's been a great year. I'm looking forward to 26. A lot of great things, and I'm standing by this. I've said it. I've been saying it all season long. I think we're finally going to have Snow the Goalie, going to have playoffs to talk about this year.
I hope so.
I think so.
I do too.
Right, Bundy? Right? Like I get
That'd be great.
I kind of get the sense that this is they're not going to have the collapse they had 2 years ago.
Well, I'm not worried about the collapse. The only thing that concerns me is the tight pack right now and the fact that they have such a low amount of regulation and overtime wins.
Yeah, but they also have played less games than everybody.
Right.
So they have
got
to
to win those games.
They got to take
right.
advantage
Yes.
of those. That's for darn sure. There's no question about that.
I'm looking forward to 2026. I think this year has been a wide success for what we do, for the show, for getting to do these shows from Chickies and Pete's every week. The Press Row show continues to grow. Things are going really well. So we should give a shout out here, Video Guy Amadeo, for turning a lot of these accounts into, even bigger than they were a year ago. A big thank you always to intern Andrew out there on Press Row show. He did a fantastic Christmas poem.
Yes.
Up there in Press Row. Bundy's going to shave his head.
Not Bundy's head. He's shaving intern Andrew's head.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe intern's going to catch him. If he gets on a stepladder, he might be able to reach the top of Bundy's head. Bundy's a big guy.
The Flyers after dark tonight. We said that 10 o'clock
10
out
o'clock.
in Vancouver. Yeah.
Look for, if you're watching us live, we don't want to put it out just yet. It's only 7 o'clock here in the East. We'll put the picks out on X, so make sure you see our picks.
We also had a question about what the schedule is looking like, and I believe next week has not changed.
Glassboro next week?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Next week we are in Glassboro.
Yes.
And I believe the week after we are in, let me just double check this. It's Glassboro and then Warrington.
Yeah, Warrington, because that's the week we're going to have a special guest.
So we're going Glassboro, Warrington, on the Boulevard, and then Malvern.
Correct.
Are the next 4.
Yes.
And I believe we're going to have guests on two of those.
Two of those 4, yes.
So they're going to be ones that you're going to want to come out to. When we get confirmation on who's coming out, I think one of those especially people are really going to want to come out to.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
Especially if you're looking at the future of the team. Is that a good enough hint?
See, that's a good enough hint.
See, that's a good enough
That's a good enough
All
hint.
right.
Yes. So, yes, we will be in Glassboro next week.
All right. So mark it on your calendar. It's next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Next Tuesday, we are down at Xfinity Mobile Arena, correct? Is it
Correct.
Tuesday?
Next Tuesday is Cutter.
Who?
Cutter.
Quitter.
Quitter. Oh, yeah. Don't forget Quitter Gautier shirts. They are available on shop.snowthegoalie.com. Go get yours in time for the game. All right, guys. It's been a lovely 2025.
It's been wonderful, guys. Happy
Yes,
New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody. Big thank you to everybody who joined us live on YouTube, Facebook, and X, everybody who's here at Chickies and Pete's, and, of course, those of you who listen after
Hey,
the fact.
Happy
in the
New Year to
podcast
Billy
feed.
from South Philly.
Billy's here.
Billy from South
Billy from
Philly's
South
here.
Philly
You
showed
want to
up
talk
tonight.
about tortellini? No?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. For Ant, for Bundy, I'm Russ. Thanks for checking out Snow the Goalie. We'll talk to each and every one of you next week.